Welcome, everyone. I just want to start off by telling you the little truth here. It's going to be impossible for me to cover everything that you need to know about college application within an hour. So I'm going to go through as much, as detailed information as possible within an hour, but I'm sure we're going to be, you're going to need additional help. And once again, like Jason mentioned, please go ahead and contact the local branch director if you have any further question. Okay, so since we have, packed information, we're going to jump right in. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's start with some of the basics. There are a lot of new terms when it comes to college admissions. So we're going to start with the type of applications. Okay, there's a common application. Last time I checked, there are over 700 schools that are accepting common application. It has one essay in it, 650 words maximum. And each college that you add to your common application, most likely they will require supplemental application. Application fee is anywhere from $40 to $100, and I believe they do charge a little more for international students. But once you add the college to your list, you're going to be able to see all the information and the application fee in there too. Coalition application, over 100 schools are using coalition application. One of the benefits is that you could actually start coalition app like now. You actually get to build your profile starting from your freshman year. So if students are interested in getting the application started early, then they could actually get started in the coalition app. But obviously the number of schools that's accepting coalition app is far less than the common app. They just extended the essay. So now their essay is 650 words. Before, a lot of the students writing the common app essay, they'll have to revise that or cut that down to go ahead and fit that into coalition application. But now it's 650. So you could easily use the essay that you write for a common app into a coalition app. They do have supplemental application per college as well. And then the application fee is anywhere from $40 to $75. And here's the main dish, if we must say, for most of the students probably joining this webinar are from California, and UC App will be pretty much the most important application that you'll be working on. There are 9 undergraduate campuses of UC that accepts the UC application. There are 4 essays. Each essay will be 350 words maximum. They don't have supplemental application unless you're applying to like the College of Nursing, or if you're applying for performing arts, then portfolio will be needed. Or if you're applying for College of Creative Studies at UC Santa Barbara, then you do need the supplemental application in there as well. In my opinion, I think it's the most simple, easy way to apply to college. I mean, UC did a great job making the UC application friendly for students to use. And there's a Csu application, 23 campuses. Good news, no essays needed. They don't have a section on the application where you list all the extracurricular activities and description of extracurricular activities. So it's really simple. We're gonna go ahead and look at it more in detail, but it's pretty much the academic information that's required for Csu application. And there are a whole bunch of other apps, actually, schools like MIT, Georgetown, and, majority of schools in Texas, or, University of Alabama system, or, State University of New York system. They have their own app. So if you're looking at some of those schools outside the state, you might need to look at a different application. It will definitely increase the amount of work that you need to do, because you need to fill out all the personal information, academic information, and extracurricular activities all over again. And some of my students applying to these schools, it will require additional day or two to just complete the application for the MIT or Georgetown or Texas schools. And there are different types of admissions. One most commonly used is the regular admission. It's non-binding. And then the deadlines are, somewhere between, end of November, which is a pretty big deadline for UCs and CSUs. And for private school regular admission deadlines, it could be anywhere in, December through middle of January even. And there's no limit, meaning you could apply to as many schools using regular admissions. You could, most of the students will apply to about 7 to 15 schools nowadays. It's really rare that student will be applying to more than 15 schools. And there's early action. It's, of course, it's still non-binding. So if you do get admitted through early action, you don't have obligation to commit to that school. They just give you early answer. Basically, that's what it is. You apply early. General early action deadlines are, November 1st to November 15th, and they'll let you know right there before Christmas. So you might actually be able to sleep better, knowing that you have one school that you're already admitted to. There's no limit of how many schools that you could apply using early action, except if the school that's accepting early action has restrictive early action. For example, like Stanford and Yale, many of the most selective schools will have restrictive early action, meaning that you could only apply to that particular school using early action, and you don't get to apply to other schools for early decision or different early action. And there's early decision. Well, one thing that I forgot to mention about early action is that early action is not going to give you a huge benefit in terms of admission rate, right? It's not going to give you that huge boost in the admission rate. Often the admission rate through early action is, most of the time better than the regular admission, but not double or triple. In the case of early decision, it's often double or triple of the admission rate. But the catch is it's binding. So if you do get admitted through early decision, it means that you have to commit to that school, right? They also do, of course, has an early deadline. The deadline for early decision is the same time as early action, so it's earlier in November. You only get to apply to one school using early decision. And the limited financial aid, what it means is that because you're committed to that school, you only get to review the financial aid that school is going to provide, right? Because if you're using regular admission or early action, then you will have multiple acceptance letters and multiple financial aid offers, and you get to actually, see which one it makes better sense. But in terms of early decision, you're committed, so whatever that they give you, it's pretty much what you're going to get. And there's a rolling admission, right? These are not, for the most selective colleges. There are mid to lower tier schools often offer a rolling admission, meaning that you get to apply at any time, pretty much, right? There's no deadline. So as soon as your application's in, they'll review the application, and then they'll let you know whether they can admit you or they cannot admit you. Often they'll let you know within 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. There's no limit of how many schools you could apply using rolling admission, right? I had some of the students who did not get in with the regular admission. These are not the students that I actually help on the college application, but they'll come back to us and say, hey, David, I didn't get into any schools I applied to. Is there any other colleges that I could attend other than community college? And often we'll look at the rolling admission schools and get them started in the fall after they graduate. Okay. All right, so let's look at the big picture. I know the webinar title was to everything that you need to know, and then the description had like as if I'm going to be able to cover all the deadlines for all the different documents and different parts of application for different colleges. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do that, but I want you to understand the big picture here, right? So the simple timeline here is that application usually opens in August 1st. So you could actually start working on your application starting, pretty much the first day of August. That's UC App, Common App, Coalition App. Most of the applications will be open in the August. So if you're junior right now, it's going to be August 1st that you could actually get your application started. And November is where deadlines begin, right? Your UC application deadline and CSU application deadline will be the last day of November. And as I mentioned earlier, early action, early decision deadlines will be beginning of November. So you want to make sure that you get it ready before that deadline, right? And December, I put other deadlines because these are the deadlines for supporting documents, letter recommendation, right? So all the supporting documents to your application, the deadline to submit them will be in December, if not early January, but don't wait until then. Just go ahead and get it done in December. And the following year, March, right? Mid-March, some schools beginning of a March, but March through mid-April is when the acceptance notification will come in, right? So you're gonna have sometimes a party, right? But sometimes tears. But yes, that's when the acceptance notification will come, right? And here's different timeline. This is to-do timeline, right? So we understand the big picture, but what do we need to do on each month? So hopefully this will get you started. Okay. So currently, students who are in junior year right now, I know you only are like at 2 weeks left until the school ends, and some schools are already out. But this is really important time for you to prepare your letter recommendation and college list, right? I tell my students to go ahead and approach the teachers before the school year ends and give them a thank you letter saying, I've learned so much from your class, and I hope you enjoy your summer. Can't wait to see you next year. If you need any help during the summer or in the fall, let me know, right? So write that letter and kind of let the teacher know that you will be asking for letter recommendation later on, right? Sometimes you want to be really blunt, like, hey, can you write me a really good letter recommendation? You could actually ask that question, right? So if the teacher says, I'm not sure, then you could actually go ahead and ask someone else for a great letter recommendation, right? But you need to start that conversation now, okay? Hopefully it's not too late. You can maybe go email your teacher or call your teacher tomorrow, or go see them tomorrow at school. So get that process started, okay? And July, June to July is where you should start working on your essays, right? But on the previous slide, I mentioned that application opens in August. So how can we start on the essays? The college essay prompts don't change that much, right? So it's okay for you to use the last year's prompt to go ahead and start writing, right? Most likely, you're going to be revising your essays, in the month of August and September, right? So, but you could start writing your essays as early as June to July. In the college application package that I offer, I actually start working with students in July. I get the ball rolling in July. Okay. And October, right? Because the deadline for early action, early decision is in the beginning of November, by mid-October, you should be done with the application, essays, and everything, and you should be reviewing the application and essays, right? And same thing goes for the November, right? Because the CSU and UC application deadlines are at the end of November, before Thanksgiving, you should be done. Don't wait until that last minute and then later on you find an error on this UC application or CSU application, right? Make sure you take your time and review your application before you submit them. December, private school application review, right? Because a lot of the private school application will be, the deadlines are sometime in December to January, so you should be getting the application review for private schools during that time. And once you do turn in your applications for early or November, you do need to go ahead and work on the supporting document deadlines and talk to your counselor about mid-school year reports and all that during that time. Of course, letter recommendation needs to be turned in that time, during that month as well. Okay, and after the application's in, pray, right? You have like a full 2-3 months to pray, and mid-March to mid-April, that's when the acceptance notification comes. And you need to make that final decision by beginning of May, the first day of May, because that's the deadline to accept an offer for the admission. Every year I get students or parents asking me, can I accept multiple offers? Please don't do that, because that means someone else will not get in, or someone else will not be able to get admitted from the wait list or whatnot. Make sure you do your homework, earlier on, and be ready to make that final decision by May 1st. Okay. All right, so now that we got the big picture and some of the admission terms done, this is really, let's just dive into UC application and look at different components of UC application. And let me see if I can, give you some of the tips on how to answer some of the questions in the UC application. And first, we're gonna go ahead and look at some of the, most frequently asked questions about UC application and UC admission. For those of you who doesn't know, there are 9 campuses, right? 4 in NorCal and 5 in SoCal. And this is just a map to help you visualize where each campuses are. Okay. Okay, so first thing first, UCs do not offer early action or early decision. So, you could actually apply, if you are planning to use early action or early decision, you could look at different private schools for that. They do not use SAT or ACT for admission or the scholarship consideration. It's starting last year. This is kind of new, but I just wanted to put it out there to make sure that everyone understands that. No, they don't ask for letter recommendation for admission purpose. They do have letter recommendation for scholarship purpose for certain campuses. They don't need, you don't need to send the official transcript along with application. The way it works is that you're gonna self-report your classes and grades. And after you get admitted, you're gonna send in a final transcript with your senior year grades, right? So to answer that, one of the frequently asked question, does my senior year grade matter for UC admission? Your grade, your acceptance is conditional. So you're promising that you're gonna finish your senior year strong. So if your senior year grades, if you have failing grades, obviously your acceptance letter could be revoked, right? It could be canceled, right? So you wanna make sure that you finish your senior year strong. And then another thing is, if you lie about your grade, I really wouldn't know why anyone would do that, but if you misrepresent your grades on the application, you might get acceptance letter from some of the campuses, but at the time when you're turning in your official transcript, all of that will pretty much lose its meaning, really. So make sure you present yourself correctly. Don't lie about your grades or classes. Okay. There's no advantage of submitting your application early. So whether you turn in your application on the November 1st or November 10th or November 20th or November 30th, which I really don't recommend, but whether you turn it in early or late, there's no advantage of, in terms of acceptance rate. Your freshman year GPA is not considered for admission, right? They do look at what classes you took, but when they recalculate your UC GPA, or when they calculate your UC GPA, your freshman year classes or grades is not part of the UC GPA, right? So even if you made some mistakes in your freshman year, you got a couple of B's and maybe even C's, you might still be a very good candidate for UC admission. So this actually gives a lot of hope to many of my students, especially who had a little hiccup starting the high school. Okay. However, they do count summer before sophomore. Summer before sophomore year. So summer after freshman year, between freshman and sophomore year, that gets counted towards your GPA. Also, summer before senior year. Okay. So I want to bring one thing here to your attention. As I mentioned it here, they don't use SAT, ACT for admission or scholarship consideration anymore, right? They're test blind. Therefore, they're putting more focus and attention to understanding your academic rigor by looking at the classes, number of classes, and whether you have taken how many APs and honors and so on and so forth. right? So if you're finishing your junior year and if you want to improve your chance of getting into UCs or CSUs, take summer course, but take weighted courses, okay? Obviously, there are many different options. Elite Open School does offer summer AP classes, so you could actually boost your GPA. It's not too late to improve your chance to UCs and CSUs right now, okay? So a little more. The high school, your high school, high school math class, meaning like algebra, geometry, algebra 2, or math 1, math 2, math 3, and the language other than English class that you took in your middle school, junior high school, counts to fulfill your requirement for UC. It counts as A through G course, right? It doesn't count in terms of your GPA calculation, but it counts to fulfill that requirement and counts as additional course you have taken. So make sure you include that on your application, okay? And you do need to select major for each campus. I mean, even if you select undeclared, undecided, you do need to select major for each campus of UC that you apply to, okay? And you could add multiple high schools. So if you do take, let's say, courses with Elite Open School, you could actually add Elite Open School as a second school and have transcript from Elite Open School sent to the UCs later on. Okay. Only UC approved courses will count towards your UC GPA, right? So you want to make sure that the courses that you're taking, I mean, if you have a younger brother, younger sister who are in freshman year or sophomore year, you want to make sure you advise them to take only UC approved courses if they're aiming for UCs. Okay. It is important to report all your activities in words, right? If you already have a resume or CV ready, and make sure you transfer all of them in there. And sometimes students will be like, "Hey, my hobby is to do puzzle or play board games." But if you're spending a lot of time doing that, you might want to go ahead and add that as an activities, right? Obviously, Elite had we offered previous webinar to how to develop that hobby into extracurricular activities, but sometimes it's good to talk to admission counselor to see if you could add all the activities that you thought that is not college application worthy, but sometimes it does end up being a college application worthy. And yes, application readers will read all your essays and the description. So make sure you pay attention to everything you put on your application. All right, so UC application has these components, right? So once you're done with all this, then you could actually review and submit. I'm gonna go ahead and take you through all of them right now. Okay, so about you, right? It's a personal contact information. So very, general information, basically. They do ask for citizenship, residency, and they do ask for student's social security number to match the student's application to the financial aid, FAFSA. Their demographic information is optional, but often students' last name will give all the information that colleges are looking for. So you don't need to intentionally hide it. I do joke with my students pretty often about if your last name is Kim, they will pretty much know that you're Korean. So just go ahead and answer it truthfully. Background information, including the first language, household information, parent contact information, and the parent's level of education. So about you is pretty just general information. I don't see a lot of information that student will indicate in about you will affect students' admission chance, except, like single parent household or the parent's education level indicates that student will be the first generation to college. Things like that might actually, hinder the admission chance. Second thing is campuses and majors. And I think we're gonna have a lot of questions about campuses and majors. So we're gonna spend some time on this one, okay? So when students add UC campuses to their UC application, second thing is that they need to select the major for each campus, right? And when they are at that window, they will actually have two different views, right? They could actually do category list of the view of the majors, or a college list of the view of the majors, okay? And then I'll share a little bit more information about this, but it's important that students understand this. And alternate majors, right? For every single UC except Berkeley allows you to go ahead and put alternate majors, right? So this is like the second choice major, right? And the rule of thumb is if students applying to impacted major, like engineering, harder major to get into, then students should select non-impacted major, preferably, less impacted college like College of Letters and Science, okay? I'll talk a little bit more about that because Berkeley actually does not offer alternate major. So you only have one choice. And for UCLA, if your first choice major is engineering, then second choice major, they don't really give a full consideration. They will only review you for College of Engineering. So I will tell the students to go ahead and put, if your first choice is engineering, then second choice should be also within the College of Engineering for UCLA. Okay, so there's closed majors and impacted majors, right? Impacted majors are, they have so much more demand for that major, so it's harder to get in. Closed majors often will be, like for example, like a bachelor degree in business for Berkeley will be indicated as a closed major, meaning that you have to go through the College of Letters and Science and Econ, and then they need to actually apply again for business major later on. So they're saying that we're not accepting students directly into that major at the time of admission, okay? And often closed or impacted majors, it's harder to transfer into those majors. So if you're thinking of, I'm just gonna go for an easier major and transfer into this major later on, that might not go as you planned. Okay. Another thing about the campuses and major section of the UC application, if you are applying to UC San Diego, they will actually ask you to rank the colleges. So they have now 7 campuses at UC San Diego, and they will give you the name of every single campus, and they will ask you to rank them. Even though they say that how you rank them or the ranking of the colleges will not affect your admission chances, but there are certain campuses that are harder to get in. So I strongly advise you to talk to your counselor about your ranking. Okay. Yes, I mean, I wanted to talk about how the alternate major for LA and Berkeley, if your intended choice is engineering, your alternative major will not be considered for UCLA, and Berkeley, you only get one chance. Okay, so every single year when we're working on this college choice and major choice, always same question every single year. Okay, if I pick a major, is it, if it's impacted, am I disadvantaging myself? If I put undeclared, is that going to give me a better chance or worse chance? Is there advantage of picking an unpopular major or disadvantage of picking a popular major? And quite often students will debate between, like English major versus biology major at UCLA, thinking like, oh, okay, English major will be easier to get in than bio major, but actually it's not. And often it really won't matter. And we're going to talk about that now, because you need to understand the difference between applying to a major versus applying to a college. Okay, and we need to understand the difference, and we're going to look at UC Berkeley's case. So if the student is applying for social science major, they are applying into College of Letters and Science. Okay, and if they're applying to architecture or landscape design major, then they're applying to environmental design. One thing is that, well, actually, let's just go over the list first. And if you're applying to, a bachelor degree in chemistry, you're applying into College of Chemistry. If you're applying to, engineering major, then you're applying into College of Engineering. However, chemical engineering is in the College of Chemistry. not in College of Engineering, okay? And obviously, because the College of Chemistry and Engineering is more impacted, they are looking at students who already demonstrate interest in chemistry, right? So if you only chemistry class you have ever taken is honors chemistry or regular chemistry, and you apply to College of Chemistry, it's not gonna fly well, right? So you want to make sure that you're more STEM or chemistry oriented if you are applying to College of Chemistry. And obviously for College of Engineering, you want to show, your expertise in math and science if you are applying to College of Engineering. Okay. So the interesting thing here is that most of the colleges will not have certain number of spots. For example, here, nutritional science. It's not like they need to fill up 25 spots of nutritional science and another 35 spots for environmental science, and then another 50 spots for forestry major, right? They have certain number of spots for College of Natural Resources. So whether you apply to plant biology versus environmental science, it's not going to really affect your admission chance because you're applying to College of Natural Resources, okay? Same thing for College of Letters and Science. If you're applying for an econ major versus history major or psychology major, right? They're all accepting students into College of Letters and Science and social science departments. So really doesn't matter whether you put sociology or psychology. They're going to go ahead and look at freshman class of social sciences in College of Letters and Science. However, there are certain colleges that will accept students directly into the major. So they have assigned spots available for, business informatics, nursing, or let's say applied mathematics, right? Schools like UCI, we actually, they do have admission rate per major, right? So it really depends on whether you're applying to, UCI versus Berkeley versus San Diego or Santa Cruz. You really need to be strategic about choosing certain majors and certain colleges for that major, okay? And obviously choosing the alternative major, right? It's really, this is where the expertise of admission counselors will come in and really help you to not make any mistakes or not waste any opportunity. You really want to make sure you want to get this part reviewed by admission counselor or elite directors, okay? So hopefully that did answer most of your question regarding majors and campuses or major selection, okay? And I'm sure you're gonna have more questions, so we're gonna come back to that later. I'm gonna try to fly through this and answer some of the questions that you guys put out on the post. All right, so the next section is academic history. Okay, this is where you put your GPA and classes and everything. So make sure you have your transcript ready before you fill out the academic history part of the application. Once again, 7th and 8th grade high school math class or language other than English like Spanish or French that you took in middle school, if you got C or better, it will count. So you want to go ahead and add that. Okay, all high schools you have attended, you could actually add multiple high schools. So, a lot of the students are looking at Elite Open School to boost their GPA. They could actually add Elite Open School here, okay? And this link here, okay, I'm gonna have you guys take a look at this here real quick. So this is how you will see whether the class that you took at your high school is UC approved or not, or if you're making plans for next year classes, you could actually check whether those classes that you're planning to take will be UC approved or UC approved weighted classes or not. So, that link, if you click on it, you could actually type in your high school's name, right? I'm in Anaheim Hills, right across from Canyon High School. So we're gonna go ahead and check on Canyon High School, and you could actually go for a course list and see how the tab up here has each year. So if you're planning for next year, you want to go ahead and click on the next school year's tab, and you're going to be able to see which classes are UC approved. Basically, if you don't see your class here, that means it's not UC approved. It's not going to count towards your UC GPA. So you want to make sure all the classes you're taking, they are UC approved. You want to make sure they are on this list. Also, not all honor classes will be weighted. So for example, let's take a look here. Honors biology is not weighted when chemistry honors is actually weighted, right? You see there's a yellow star here. That means it's going to be weighted. It's a UC approved weighted course. Okay. And of course, you could actually look at, any other high schools, but you could also look at Elite Open School. And if you go to Elite Open School, you're going to be able to see a whole bunch of classes that we're planning to offer next year. And many of our classes are UC approved and they're weighted, right? And even the Korean classes are weighted. So if you're interested in adding additional class for next school year, you could definitely take weighted Korean classes with the Elite Open School as well. So going back to the seminar file, okay. Only academic subjects, right? Academic classes are included. PE, TA, in some cases, ASB will not be included. So make sure when you're looking at all the classes and you're filling it out, have your transcript handy and look at that website to make sure that they are UC approved. Senior year courses, grades does not count. However, you're gonna go ahead and add those classes and you're gonna put IP as in progress and PL as planned. So senior year class first semester will be in progress because at the time when you're applying to college, you will be in progress with those classes. And then the second semester should be planned, right? It should be marked down as a planned class because you are planning to take the classes the second semester. If you do put classes as planned, please don't drop that class. You want to complete that class, okay? College courses are included, right? Including the dual enrollment classes, they're all included. If you got a letter grade, it should all be included in your academic history, okay? At the end of academic history, you will have a chance to go ahead and add the California State Student ID number. You can find that on your transcript. If you can't find it on your transcript, you need to talk to your counselor. An additional common box at the very end of academic history, this is where you could provide detailed information or explain what happened, right? If you have sudden grade drop or, if you're not going to indicate why it happened in your personal statement, you could actually indicate them here. Course selection issues, like if you took, let's say 2 years of Chinese and then the school stopped offering Chinese, therefore you had to change your language to Spanish or French, you could actually talk about that. If you had gaps in education, you could also explain that here. If you actually repeated the course, you could also explain why you repeated the course here and the courses that you have taken in special program, like the pathway courses that were not UC approved, but you took it, then you could actually go ahead and explain that in there. Okay, I'm gonna talk a little bit faster because I have a lot more to cover. So we're gonna go through it really fast. Okay, test scores, reporting your AP and IB exams, planned AP and IB tests are also should be reported here. So if you're planning to take the AP exam and IB exam at the end of the senior year, you want to report all of them here. Rule of thumb is if you get 1 or 2 on the AP exam, I actually tell students to not to report it. But because you're going to turn in your official AP IB exam report after you get admitted. Okay, so yeah, on the application, if you got 1 or 2, then it's sometimes better that you hide that score. SAT, ACT score, once again, are not being used for admission or scholarship, but they are being used for placement of your freshman classes. So if you have it, you could actually indicate it there. Okay, other exam scores, if you're an international student, your TOEFL score or your English proficiency test score could be reported there. Activities and awards, okay. This is really important part. You could indicate up to 20 activities and awards, right? There's no limit of how many awards you could report. You could actually fill up all 20 with awards if you have that many awards. But when you're reporting awards, and let's say you get a Scholar Athlete Awards freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, combine them into one, right? Don't go ahead and put 3 different awards with the same titles. Just make sure you combine them and explain what the qualifications were for those awards. Description of awards or activities, you have 350 characters, and make sure you focus on your roles and achievements, your responsibilities, more than the activity itself. I often see students talking about like, oh, Red Cross does this and that. No, we're not interested in what Red Cross does or what MUN does. We want to know what you did in the club. So it's about your role and your achievements. Okay. And if you don't have a lot of activities, make sure you explain how you use your time, right? Like if you have to provide a care to your family member, then that should be included in there so that the application reader know how you're using your time. Often students will just neglect this part, and if they don't report anything, then we don't know how you're spending your time. So you want to go ahead and report all the details in there. Okay. Once again, here, if you did not have time or opportunity to participate in activities or volunteering, it's extremely important. It's really, really important that you explain why you didn't have that opportunity. Okay. Activities and awards, when you're filling out the description, there are common errors, and I want to go ahead and cover a couple of them here. Okay. First, please don't repeat yourself. If the title shows student newspaper, you should not be writing a description saying, I am the editor of school newspaper, right? For school newspaper, because you just wrote the title up there, right? What's better will be, you want to go ahead and include that information in the title, right? So in the description, you can talk about what you actually did, right? I mean, what will be a little bit better here is, you can add a little more to the description here, responsible for brainstorming, revising, supervising articles by other writers in my section. You can talk about how many issues of newspapers are being published per semester, right? And how many actual articles that you are in charge of, right? You could actually add those information to make the description look even stronger, okay? And often they don't write enough, right? Really, students will say, title will be tutoring, and then description will be tutored students, right? Missed opportunity there, right? What will be better is if you actually expand on how you help students, right? Provided academic support. Sometimes you could actually add the actual subjects that you helped, right? To 8 fourth graders who struggled with the word problem and abstract. I mean, you really want to get down and have them understand what you did to help these students or tutor these students, okay? Oh, that's new. Okay, so you want to make the description more active, right? So the weak way of doing this will be like, oh, I worked at a hospital doing lots of different things. Like, okay, that's not really much, right? You want to go ahead and once again go into detail, show them what you did, right? And lastly, you really want to make your description stronger. You want to add the actual numbers, right? Instead of saying work with the team to help kids, you want to say manage tutoring schedule for 5 tutors to help over 30 students with 15 weekly tutoring sessions. This is much better. Now I can visualize and I can understand how much of effort and time that you put into this activity. Okay. And don't expect the readers to know all the activities out there and all the competitions out there and how difficult it is to win that competition, right? And of course, it says when it helps, because sometimes, just like in this picture, maybe there are only 2 competitors. And if you got the first place, you just want to put first place, right? But sometimes it's really hard to win certain activities or get selected into internship for here. So you want to actually let the reader know it was 8% admit rate, right? Only 20 students were accepted from California. Then you want to go ahead and highlight that. You want to share that detail so that the reader could understand the significance of that activity. All right, scholarships and programs, right? Scholarships and programs, student could actually select as many as they want. And it will change, depends on the major you have selected and campuses you have selected. So if you actually go back to major and campuses and change something, you might want to come back to this page to see if there are more options for you to select. And then at the end of scholarship and programs, they will actually have the EOP program. If you do opt into EOP program, then it requires additional statement, right? For those of you who does not know about the EOP program, students from low-income household or first generation to college are some of the requirements or qualification to the EOP program, and also you need to be California resident. I know I talked really fast, and we're going to get to probably the most important part, the personal statement, right? Personal insight. Okay. UCs have 8 prompts, and you need to select 4 and write 4 statements, and each has to be about 350 words max. Okay, and here are the prompts from last year. From what I know, they're not going to change anything, so take a look. Okay, most of the time when students are working on the UC application and they go through the eight prompts with me, they could easily pick 1 or 2 and come up with the topics for 1 or 2, right? And then by the 3rd one, it gets a little bit more difficult, tricky. By 4th one, it's sometimes very difficult to find a topic to answer that 4th prompt. Not the number 4, but like, the out of the 4th prompt. I don't think I'm going to have time to go and share the examples of each prompt right now, so I'm going to skip through it. But these are the, let me just go through like really quickly. So if you look at the prompt here, what would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrate the talent over time? Even if you don't have like amazing talent or skill, I mean, let's face it, how many of UC applicants could actually say that I guarantee this is, this talent is only, I'm the best in the world, or I'm the best in the state, or I'm the, it's really rare that students will be actually answering it with that much of talent or skill, right? So it could be something small, right? It could be, like, oh, I know it's going to be really hard to use the skills, like I'm a good listener, right? I mean, if you're writing about essay about how good of a listener you are, it's going to be really hard to quantify that, or to show how great you are as a good listener. But if you're using that opportunity to really share your personality and how approachable you are, or how your friends, your peers, everyone around you is comfortable with you, and if you want to just highlight that, it could still work, right? They're not super interested in like your talent itself, right? They want to know how you're using that skill or talent, however small they might be, to help other people, right? Or demonstrate that talent, or how do you use it, or how did it develop? So that background story might be more important, okay? Describe how you have taken this significant opportunity, educational opportunity, or work to overcome educational barrier you have faced. I mean, there are so many, educational opportunity that students take it granted, right? This might be a good opportunity for you to say, hey, I look at this as an opportunity. I'm looking at these AP classes. Even though I didn't do so well in honor class, I went forth with the AP class in the same subject because I saw it as an educational opportunity. That thought process could, actually be a good answer to this question here as well. So don't overthink it, right? Don't have that image of a perfect essay in your head and like, oh, I need to be this person in order for me to get into college, right? You just need to be yourself to get into the college, right? Your choice of college. So you want to really just focus on sharing who you are right? Just focusing on storytelling. That's basically what this is. Okay. So those are the prompts. Okay. And I'm gonna just go ahead and get you started, like how to brainstorm to answer these prompts. Sometimes even before reading the prompt, it helps to go ahead and answer some of these questions. Okay. What do you want colleges to know about you, right? If you could actually just like write down a list of 5 things, like, oh, I want colleges to know about how helpful I am towards others. I want colleges to know about how funny I am, right? It could be many different things, but just get started with writing the list of things that you want the colleges to know about you, right? What are you known for, right? Like, for me, if my friends have fishing question, they will always ask me, they will call me. It's like, hey, David, I have a fishing question. When is a good time to go catch tuna, or when is a good time to go catch trout, right? Like, there must be few things that you're known for, right? Write those things down, okay? And something that only your friends, closest friends know about you, right? You might want to, like, my closest friend will know that I'm colorblind, right? So there are a bunch of like big spectrum of colors that I don't see, but only my friends will know about that, know that about me, right? So maybe write down a few things that only close friends knows about you. Those might be a really good icebreaker to your essays. Okay. What did I spend so much time doing, right? Hopefully this is not video game. Or hopefully this is something other than video game that you spend so much time doing. But just go ahead and write down the list of things that you have done and you spend so much time doing. Okay. And what are my proudest moment in high school? Like, what are the things that you worked really hard to achieve, right? Go ahead and write down the list of things that you feel proud about. And it doesn't have to be something amazing. Once again, if you have that idea, like, I need to be amazing at something to get into college, trust me, it's not the right idea, right? We need to learn about you, right? And if what I'm interested in is why you felt proud at that moment. That actually tells me more about you than like the achievement itself. Okay. Okay. What were some of the biggest challenges you have overcome during your high school years, right? Please, let's not talk about like the challenges you had in elementary school or pre-K. Like, no, let's talk about the most recent challenges. And the focus here is challenges that you overcame, right? And focus here should not be the challenges. It's about how you overcame the challenge, right? And sometimes essay will sound like you're still in process of overcoming this challenge, and that's fine. But if you can show what you are doing to overcome the challenges, it will be great. Okay. All right, so here are a few things about the college essays. You want to start early, right? At least, going back to that question list, just come up with like 3 to 5 different answers to all the questions. That's your start, right? But start early and, talk to your friends, your, brother, sister, your parents about different ideas. Sometimes they have better ideas about you. Don't write it directly on the UC application, even though you're allowed to save and edit. It's a lot easier for you to go ahead and share your work with the counselors or your friends if you actually write them on a Google Doc, right? And then you could actually go back to revision history and see how much improvement that you're making. Sometimes you need to go back to your old ideas and restart, right? So it's good to use Google Doc or Word Doc or something other than the UC app itself. Okay. And yes, you could use I, right? This is not school English essay, so you could definitely use I, my, and use clean conversational language. As if you're writing a letter to your friend, right? Like, I know no one writes letters to friends anymore, more maybe text messages or email or DM, but as if you're writing a letter to your friend. So use conversational language, okay? Be sincere in your writing, Okay, you don't need to fluff it up thinking like, oh, college admission officer is going to read this and judge me. So trying to throw big words in there that does not make sense. No, it needs to sound like you. So when my students are pretty much done editing the essay, I will tell them, go have your friends read it, but ask one question. Does it sound like me, right? Does the essay sound like me? Sometimes my colleague, John, he actually tells the students to read the essay out loud. And if it doesn't sound like you, let's edit it again, right? And you need to get to the point, right? Application readers are definitely going to read your essay, but they're reading thousands of applications, right? So you want to get to the point. You don't want to start with a like fluffy opening paragraph. You want to grab their attention right away. So get to the point. Show, don't tell. I'm pretty sure you heard this from your English teacher 1,000 times, but you do want to go ahead and show them, not tell them. One of the worst, or I wouldn't say worst, but one of the funniest thing essay that I read was student keeps mentioning how funny he is in the essay, but the essay wasn't funny, right? So you want to go ahead and show them that you're funny. Don't tell them that you're funny. Okay. And add details, right? Details actually, well, I'm colorblind, so I don't know how it looks when it's colorful, but they say it's like adding colors, right? It shows credibility too, right? So you want to go ahead and add as many details as possible. And make sure you allow yourself enough time to revise it, more than a handful of times, right? All right, so UC application is pretty much done. We're gonna jump into CSU application, and we'll be quick, okay? Because CSU application is definitely, simpler, right? So there are 4 different parts, okay? First, personal information. It's not much different than the UC application. Same thing, social security number, CSSID number. You wanna go ahead and indicate that in there. And then second part is academic history. Pretty much the same thing. 7th, 8th grade high school math or language other than English class should be reported. But unlike UC application, they don't have a section for this separately. They will have high school, all the classes. So you do need to select the middle school grade level, but report this into your 9th grade academic year, right? Once you get to the app, this will make sense. But if you're not sure, you got to talk to the college counselor, okay? College or university course you have taken, whether it was through the dual enrollment course or whatnot, it needs to be reported in transcript entry for college or university you've attended, not in high school class, okay? CSU application does allow, plus minus grade report. So you could actually say A plus or, B plus or A minus. So it's really helpful that you have a transcript in hand if you don't remember the actual plus minus grades for all the classes you took, okay? Course type, they do allow AP, IB, honors, and none, right? Only UC approved honor classes should be titled as honors, right? Remember we looked at that website, it's the same website for this link down here. Let's just jump in there once again. So not all classes will be honored, right? So if we have here physics honors, well, this physics honor is weighted, but if you have honor classes that are not weighted, you should not actually put that as an honor class. Well, Elite Open School does a great job that most of the classes that are weighted here, honor classes are weighted by UCs, but many of the classes that you probably took in freshman year or sophomore year, even though it's honor English or honor biology, will not be weighted in the UC approved course. So you want to double check before you submit your transcript here. Okay. Summer courses with the 2-letter grades, you need to actually report it as a 2 separate courses. Some are 1, some are 2, so that you could actually get the full credit for it. Let's go ahead and take a look. The next section on the Common App, not Common App, CSU app is supporting information. This is where you put education program or work experience or average number of hours per week for your extracurricular activities, like leadership experience and all that. That's where it will be reported. Program materials. Okay, all undergrad programs offered at these campuses are actually impacted. Okay, so I always tell students to go ahead and have a backup school, and many of the students, no matter what their GPA and academic standings are, they think that, oh, you know what, CSU will be all backup school for me. Actually, it's not. Some of the CSU campuses are quite difficult to get in. So these are the CSU campuses that are harder than other CSU campuses, and they're impacted. So, for example, Cal Poly SLO should not be a backup engineering school. It's actually, in many cases, it was harder to get in to Cal Poly SLO for engineering than some of the UC campuses. All right. So when you add the program materials, that's when you add the school and the major, right? That's what they call a program materials here. You will find a tab right there that shows questions, right? That's where the supplemental materials will go in. They might ask to share a document, or make sure that you sign a form for prerequisites, or they might actually have additional questions for that particular major. They even might ask for recommendations for the major that you have chosen. So make sure you click on that question to see what other requirements are there for the major you have selected. Okay. And now we are about to start with a Common App. Actually, I'm just kidding. We're not going to be able to go through all the Common Apps. So I have some of the very few pointers for the Common App. Okay, for Common App actually has more moving parts, right? You need to submit the Common App itself, sometimes the writing supplement for the college that you're applying to, and then you need to submit the test score, sometimes transcript, letter recommendation, mid-year report, right? So there are a lot more moving parts. So even though Common App does a really good job of organizing all the requirements per college that you added onto your Common App list, it's always a good idea to have an Excel file, or just to make sure that you have the deadlines and the required documents for each school. Okay, so you should have school deadline, right? Writing supplement. And sometimes I'll actually have the students write the prompt, right? So that you could actually see it in the list. And if you have college A, B, C that shares a similar prompt, then you could actually save a lot of time by knowing that you could, just write one and then share that among the 3 colleges. And if they do require the SAT score or transcript to be submitted directly to them, you want to have a deadline for that, and then letter recommendation and deadline for that as well, and whether they require a mid-year report or not. Depends on the school that you attend. Letter recommendation and mid-year report might be automatic, as well as a transcript might be automatic, right? So beginning of senior year, hopefully you're already getting this from your school, but you will get a letter that explains this process for the high school that you're attending. If they're using Naviance, we'll make it a lot easier, but it really depends. Okay, so you want to go ahead and follow that instruction. But Common Application, yes, it's a very effective way to apply to many different private schools. By the way, you could only apply up to 20 colleges using Common App. Not suggesting anyone to apply to more than 20 schools, 20 private schools, but yes, there is a cap. 20 schools using Common App, that's the cap. Okay, it is a very effective way to apply to colleges, but there are more moving parts. So you do want to have a document that you can keep track of all of this. Okay, writing supplements. Okay, that's the big part of the Common App, right? Many of the private schools are asking these 2 types of questions. Why you? Why us? Why you? Meaning, why do you think you deserve a spot in our school? And why us is that what makes you be attracted to us? What makes you love us, right? So we want to go ahead and look at some of the examples here. Okay. So one of the typical response for why you type of question is that student will talk about the school, like, oh, NYU political science, because I am the #1 delegate and cannot wait to continue on the campus of. It's not the best way to answer this, right? Why you want to focus on your personality, right? The better way is that, okay, by reading why you want the colleges to know more about you, right? Get to know you at the very personal level. Okay. In this response, like you could almost like hear that music playing in the reader's head. And I know that this kid loves activities. And by this student coming to this my campus or NYU campus, I know this student will be very active, right? And this way, this is a better way to open YU essay, okay? And there are a couple other examples, okay? I know some of the counselors will tell students not to talk about like religion, faith, but I actually tell students, hey, if that's important to you, you should mention it. And if the college does not accept you for who you are, then it's actually good, right? Because you don't want to go there and then, fake your identity for 4 years, right? So, I tell the students, be blunt about it, okay? And one of my students actually wrote this response, okay? And after just reading this few words, you already know something about him that others don't, right? Like it's easier, it's very approachable, and you could see that he's firm. So that's like the best way to show your personality through the short answers. Okay. And here's another good example. Okay. Usually, usually girls are better at writing YU essay. Boys are a little bit, less comfortable talking about themselves. But yeah, you could kind of see which one was done by a boy. Why us essay, right? Why us, meaning why that college, right? These are some of the examples of typical response and that are not that good, right? They say, don't mention about the weather, location, and the program itself, right? Something beyond that, right, will be a better reason why you're applying to that college. So basically, when you're applying to college, you're actually asking the college, let's live together for the next 4 years, right? And college is asking back saying, hey, why do you think you and we should live together for the next 4 years, right? So like, let's think about this in terms of dating. If the girl's asking, why do you want to date me? And you're telling the girl like, oh, because you have two arms and 2 eyeballs and 2 ears, like that's really not the really good answer, right? They're asking for more. Okay. You want to give them a very detailed reason why they're special. Okay. And it requires a lot of research. Why us essay? I will tell a student it's 80% research and 20% putting it together. Okay. I'm looking at the example. Okay. And I know these are not a typical example because not many high school students will be reading college research projects, right? But that's the depth of research you need to do before you answer why us questions. Okay. And here are 2 more why us responses that I found very unique and good. Okay. The one on the left, right? I mean, this student is already working with the professor at this college, right? And telling the college that I want to continue my work with this professor at your institution. What better reason, can student find, right? And especially if you could actually get a letter right from that professor, it's done deal, pretty much. It's a done deal. And I had multiple students who were able to go ahead and develop their extracurricular activity to that point. And usually they're the one who will have a high success rate in, getting into the top tier schools. Okay. So these are some of the examples. I'm pretty sure if you talk to your local branch directors, they could actually share a whole bunch of other examples of what will be a better response and what will not be a good response. But before you read all other examples, I mean, sometimes it's not really good to read too many examples because now you're going to think that you need to sound like them. Okay. And here's why, you might need a help when you're working on the college essays. I really don't know why they're asking these type of questions, but here are some of the odd questions that colleges are asking in the personal statement or the writing supplement. Right? Brandeis, really good school, but I really don't know why they're asking this question. North Carolina, Chapel Hill, really good school. What do you hope to find over the rainbow? UPenn, yes. I mean, some of them, it's almost a philosophical question. You need to really think about this. And, if you really want to just spend the afternoon getting amazed by what type of questions colleges are asking, I'll suggest that you go to University of Chicago website and then, look at some of their supplement questions. All right, so short answer tips. Okay, very few, but these are really important. Personality is the most important thing, okay? And then uniqueness, okay? Do not repeat the question. Like if they're asking, okay, what makes you consider us as your first choice? Don't answer that as the reason why I'm considering Chapman as my first choice is ... That's just no, that's a big no, okay? Don't forget that colleges wants to get to know you, right? So they already know really well about themselves. So you don't want to repeat what is on their brochure, right? Often students will actually repeat what's on the brochure and say, this is the reason why I want to go. But no, they really want to get to know the student, know you, okay? When they're asking about like simple question, what's your favorite music? What is your favorite food? Or, if you have a free weekend, what would you do? Don't give them a like simple answer. It's an opportunity for you to share something more, right? Like, for example, what's your favorite food? Don't say pizza, right? Go beyond, like, what's your favorite type of, well, maybe you can put pineapple on your pizza or something different on your pizza. And who would you eat that? Like, in what occasion would you eat that pizza? So, like, you want to go ahead and add a little bit more than just simply answering it with pizza or taco or Korean barbecue, right? You want to go beyond that, okay? Don't forget, it's another opportunity to, share who you are, okay? At the end of writing all the short answers, read it out loud, and if it doesn't sound like you, redo it. Really, it's the most important part is the short answer. The supplemental application, like supplemental essays and supplemental part of the Common App, it's arguably more important than the Common App essay itself. I mean, we didn't even talk about the Common App essay itself. I mean, you just need to write one essay, 650 words. It's important, but often supplemental essays are more important than the Common App essay itself. Common App essay itself, yes, you could definitely execute many different things with it, but it's really good writing sample. But when it comes to, getting to know you, supplemental questions will get that job done much better. So make sure you spend enough time on the supplemental questions. Okay. All right. Coalition app, right? Remember, there are about 137 colleges that accept Coalition app. However, we already went over the time limit and we're not going to have time to go ahead and answer all the questions about Coalition app or the other applications. Okay. So we do have different packages to help you go through this process of a college essay and application. So if you need help, please go ahead and contact your local branch director. They do offer free one-on-one college application consultation. I mean, that free one-on-one college consultation is not where they sit down and review the application with you, but to give you an idea of what needs to be done from now until you have the acceptance letter in your hand. Okay. Well, thank you so much once again for bearing with me past about an hour. I told you I had a lot to share, and I hopefully didn't confuse you, and hopefully gave you some answers. Jason, is there a lot of questions to be answered on the Q&A?
There are a bunch. Yeah, I took care of a few. I wasn't able to get to many of them, but I'd say basically, and a lot of the questions that have come in will require kind of nuanced answers that are really, specific to the individual student. So I'd suggest if you submitted a question and it wasn't answered today, or if you just have questions in general, go ahead and you can click on this poll question. Would you like to schedule a free one-on-one college application consultation? Just click yes, and we'll have somebody from Elite reach out to you as soon as possible about scheduling a free consultation. Or if you don't want if you want to just do it on your own time, feel free to go to eliteprep.com/locations. Or if you know your local branch, just give your local branch a call, schedule a free college application consultation. We would love to answer your questions and get you set up and tell you more about the different solutions that we can provide at Elite. So thank you so much, David, for that incredibly helpful information. Let's see. As David mentioned, we've got a lot of extremely exciting programs for students in grades 5 through 12 happening this summer, starting in just a couple weeks in the middle of June. Both online and in-person programs are available. We've got AP courses for credit, dual credit college courses, very similar to like a community college course that you might take, as well as Korean language courses. These are all ways you can raise your GPA in just 8 weeks this summer. Full credit UC approved courses you can take at your local Elite branch with tutoring and support from Elite counselors and teachers. We've got 12 different extracurricular programs, incredibly exciting extracurricular programs we call our lead extracurriculars. You can find out more about that at our website, eliteprep.com. And as well as our world famous SAT and ACT boot camps happening both online and in person this summer. And as David said, if you're a rising senior looking for help on college admissions, help writing your essays, editing those essays, your personal insight questions for the UCs, compiling your high school resume, putting your best foot forward, we do offer college application services for rising seniors. And we also offer college solutions for students in grades all the way from grades 7 through 11. Now is the time to start prepping for college, no matter where you are in the process. So if you're looking for some help getting through this very confusing time in college admissions, let us know how we can help. We have everything you need to get into the college of your dreams at Elite. So contact us. We would love to get you set up. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you again, David. Thank you, everyone who attended. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you next time.